Student, in the last lecture, lecture number 5, we have discussed the limitations of Bohr atomic model and started the Sommerfeld model and considering the elliptical orbit of the electron about the nucleus. So today we will continue that lecture. Lecture 6, PH 3501, the Sommerfeld model. We continue. In the last lecture, we have discussed the limitations of Bohr atomic model. That a spectral line, suppose I take H alpha line, when observed under high resolution, it is found that it is split into several close lines. The splitting of spectral line into several closed lines is called fine structure of hydrogen atom. So what do you mean by fine structure of hydrogen atom? Where a single H alpha or H beta line spectral line of hydrogen atom is observed under high resolution, it is found that a single spectral line is splitted into several close and distinct lines, which is called fine structure of hydrogen atom, means splitting of spectral lines. Now this splitting of spectral line into several close line, which is called the fine structure of hydrogen atom, could not be explained on the basis of Bohr atomic model. So Sommerfeld assumed to explain the splitting of spectral line into several lines, Sommerfeld assumed the elliptical orbit of the electron around the nucleus. So according to Sommerfeld, we consider the elliptical orbit of the electron around the nucleus, in which we consider the nucleus at one center, one focus of the ellipse. As you know that the longer axis of the ellipse is called major axis. So A is called semi major axis. The last lecture we have discussed already. B is called semi minor axis. And Sommerfeld assumed the nucleus is situated at one center of the ellipse. An electron is revolving around the nucleus in an elliptical orbit at a radial distance r from the nucleus. Okay, so let us assume elliptical orbit of the electron, which nucleus is situated at one focus of the ellipse. An electron is revolving about the nucleus in an elliptical orbit. The radial distance of electron from the nucleus is r, and the angle made by this radial vector r with the semi-major axis is phi. In the last lecture, we have discussed to define the position of electron at any instant of time. The instantaneous position of electron is defined by two coordinates, r coordinate and phi coordinate. Here we are not using Cartesian coordinate, here is in polar coordinates, r and phi. So q1 is equal to r and q2 is equal to phi. One is the radial coordinate, another one is the angular coordinate. So to define the instantaneous position of electron at any instant of time, the position of electron can be defined or described in terms of two polar coordinate r and phi. If you know two polar coordinate r and phi, you can exactly define the position of electron. Suppose electron is at this position. Suppose the position of electron is at here. The distance, radial distance of the electron from the nucleus is maxima, and phi will be same. Because electron is very much away from the nucleus, so the radial distance of electron from the nucleus is maxima, and angle phi will be 0. Okay, when electron completes half rotation and comes here, angle phi will be pi, and distance of electron from the nucleus is minimum. And after when the electron completes one rotation and comes to the initial position, again the distance of the electron from the nucleus is maximum and angle phi becomes 2 pi. So initially when the position of electron is here, the radial distance r of the electron from the nucleus is maximum and phi will be 0. When electron completes half rotation, angle phi will be pi and distance of the electron from the nucleus is minimum. And after one rotation, again electron come back to the same position, so r becomes maximum and angle phi becomes 2 pi. So by knowing two polar coordinate r and phi, the instantaneous position of electron can be described in terms of two polar coordinate r and phi. Now r is called radial coordinate, phi is called polar coordinate. Sorry, angular coordinate. Corresponding to radial coordinate, the radial momentum of the electron is Pr, which is n into v. And corresponding to phi coordinate, the angular momentum of the electron will be p phi, which is I into omega. Okay. Now this n is the mass of electron. Velocity of the electron is dr by dt. dr by dt is written as r dot. I is the moment of inertia, is mr square, and phi. Omega is the angular velocity of the electron, which is d phi by dt, phi dot. Okay. So corresponding to radial coordinate r, the radial momentum of the electron is Pr, is defined as mv, m is the mass of the electron, and velocity of the electron is dr by dt, that is called r. And corresponding to angular coordinate phi, the angular momentum of the electron is defined by I omega. I is the moment of inertia, which is mr square, and omega is the angular velocity, which is d phi by dt, that is called phi dot. Okay. In the last lecture, we obtained the differential equation for elliptical orbit of electron about the nucleus. This thing we already derived. I just repeated. In the last lecture, lecture 5, we have already derived the differential equation for the elliptical orbit of electron around the nucleus. Okay. We have started with the equation of total energy. Of the system is the sum of kinetic energy plus potential energy. So total energy of the system is kinetic energy plus potential energy. Now what is the kinetic energy? The kinetic energy, there are two kinetic energy corresponding to radial coordinate. The kinetic energy of the electron is half mv square, and corresponding to angular coordinate phi, the rotational kinetic energy of the electron will be half I omega square, and potential energy, that is minus del square. Okay. So we have started with the equation of total energy of the system. Total energy of the system is different. The sum of kinetic energy plus potential energy. The linear kinetic energy of the electron is half mv square. Rotational kinetic energy of the electron is half I omega square, and potential energy is defined as del square. In the last lecture, I told you that the charge of nucleus is plus Z. Charge of electron is minus E, and potential energy is defined as Q1 Q2 upon R. What is Q1? Q1 is the charge of nucleus, that is Z. Q2 is the charge of electron, that is minus E, and the separation distance between nucleus and electron is R. So potential energy is minus Z square upon R. So in the last lecture, we obtained the differential equation for the elliptical orbit of electron about the nucleus. We have started with the equation of total energy of the system is defined as kinetic energy of the electron plus potential energy. The kinetic energy of the electron corresponding to radial coordinate, the linear kinetic energy of the electron is half mv square. Corresponding to angular coordinate phi, the angular, or we can say rotational kinetic energy of the electron is half I omega square, And potential energy of the nucleus and electron system is defined as Q1 Q2 upon R. Charge of the nucleus is Z, charge of the electron is minus E upon R, that is minus Z square upon R. Now in this equation E is equal to 1 by 2 m. Now V is the linear velocity of the electron. What is the linear velocity of the electron? dr by dt. dr by dt is denoted by r dot square. And the mass of the electron is the linear velocity of the electron is defined by dr by dt, that is r dot square. Plus 1 by 2. I is the moment of inertia. Moment of inertia is defined as mr square. I is the moment of inertia defined as mr square, and omega is the angular velocity of the electron defined by d phi by dt. d phi by dt is denoted by phi dot square minus z square upon r. In this equation, as you know that we have substituted the values of r dot and phi dot. In this equation, we have substituted the values of r dot and phi dot. If you substitute the values of r dot and phi dot in this equation, we got one differential equation for the elliptical orbit of the electron. Okay. So I am writing the differential equation. The differential equation for the elliptical orbit we got last lecture, 1 upon r dr by d phi whole square is equal to 2 me upon p phi, 1 upon r dr by d phi whole square is 2 me upon p phi square into r square plus 2m z square plus 2m z square upon p phi square minus 1. So this is the differential equation for the elliptical orbit of the electron. This differential equation in the last lecture we already derived. 1 upon r dr by d phi whole square is equal to 2m upon p phi square into r square plus 2m z square upon p phi square into r minus 1. So this is the differential equation for the elliptical orbit of electron about the nucleus. This equation we have derived from the equation of total energy of the system, which is defined as the sum of kinetic energy and potential energy. We derive the differential equation for the elliptical orbit of electron is 1 upon r dr by d phi whole square to 2m upon p phi square into r square plus 2m z square upon p phi square r minus 1. Please remember here p phi. What is p phi? It's the angular momentum of the electron. Because electron is revolving around the nucleus, so electron is angular momentum. P phi is the angular momentum of the electron. And you know two coordinate. The motion, the position of the electron is defined by two coordinates, r coordinate and phi coordinate. Okay. Second differential equation. The second differential equation we have derived from the polar equation of ellipse. So from polar equation of ellipse, an ellipse. Okay. You know the equation of ellipse in Cartesian coordinate. What is the equation of ellipse in Cartesian coordinate? The equation of ellipse in Cartesian coordinate is x square upon a square plus y square upon b square is equal to 1. So x square upon y square, sorry, x square upon a square plus y square upon b square is equal to 1 is the equation of ellipse in Cartesian coordinate, where a is the semi-major axis, and this b is the semi-minor axis of the ellipse. Okay, but this is the equation of ellipse in Cartesian coordinate. Here we are working with polar coordinates r and phi. So in polar coordinate, the equation of ellipse can be written as, in polar coordinate the equation of ellipse is written as 1 upon r is equal to 1 upon a 1 minus epsilon cos phi upon 1 minus epsilon square. So this is the polar equation of an ellipse. So let us use the polar equation of an ellipse is 1 upon r is equal to 1 upon a 1 minus epsilon cos phi upon 1 minus epsilon square. In the last lecture we have differentiated this with respect to phi. I am not going to repeat differentiating with respect to phi. If you differentiate this polar equation of an ellipse with respect to phi, we got differential equation 1 upon r dr by d phi whole square is equal to epsilon square sin square phi upon 1 minus epsilon cos phi whole square. So we are getting this equation that from the polar, let us use the polar equation of ellipse is 1 upon r is equal to 1 upon a 1 minus epsilon cos phi upon 1 minus epsilon square. Please remember what is r here? R you know r. A is the semi major axis of the ellipse and epsilon is for the eccentricity of the ellipse. You must be knowing epsilon is for the eccentricity of the ellipse and the relation is this 1 minus epsilon square is equal to b square upon a square. So epsilon is the eccentricity of the ellipse, b is semi minor axis, a is semi major axis. Okay, now if you give the simplification of the right hand side, you will get a second differential equation for the elliptical orbit of electron. Okay, so 1 upon r dr by d phi whole square is equal to, okay. Now on the right hand side, numerator is epsilon square sin square phi and denominator is 1 minus epsilon cos phi. Okay, so from the polar equation of ellipse, you can see that what is the value of 1 minus epsilon cos phi? Value of 1 minus epsilon cos phi is nothing but a 1 minus epsilon square upon r. So you can put in the denominator. In denominator you have 1 minus epsilon cos phi. So what is the value of 1 minus epsilon cos phi from the polar equation of ellipse? The polar equation of the ellipse is 1 upon r is equal to 1 upon a 1 minus epsilon cos phi upon 1 minus epsilon square. So value of 1 minus epsilon cos phi is equal to a into 1 minus epsilon square upon r. So that value you can put in denominator. That value you can put in denominator. Now numerator is epsilon square sin square. Now what is, yes, you know this thing, epsilon square sin square phi plus epsilon square cos square phi is equal to epsilon square. Okay, epsilon square sin square phi plus epsilon square cos square phi is equal to epsilon square because cos square phi plus cos square phi plus sin square phi is 1. So value of epsilon square sin square phi is nothing but epsilon square minus epsilon square cos square phi. Right? So epsilon square sin square phi is equal to epsilon square minus, what is the value of epsilon cos phi from that first equation? Okay. See which equation we are using to put the value of numerator and denominator? Epsilon square sin square phi plus epsilon square cos square phi is equal to epsilon square. Okay. So value of epsilon square sin square phi is epsilon square minus epsilon square cos square phi because cos square phi plus sin square phi is 1. So epsilon square sin square phi plus epsilon plus cos square phi is epsilon square. So value of epsilon square sin square phi is nothing but epsilon square minus epsilon square cos square phi. We want to put the value of epsilon cos phi from the above equation. So what is the value of epsilon cos phi from this equation? Okay. So you can 1, I take this here, minus a 1 minus epsilon square upon r is equal to epsilon cos phi. From this equation, you can see the value of epsilon cos phi is nothing but 1 minus a1 minus epsilon square upon r, that is the value of epsilon cos phi. So here you can put it here 1 minus a1 minus epsilon square upon r whole square, right? So from 1 minus epsilon cos phi is equal to a1 minus epsilon square upon r. What is the value of epsilon cos phi? The value of epsilon cos phi comes 1 minus a1 minus epsilon square upon r. That is the value of epsilon cos phi. Okay. If you substitute that value in this equation, we get epsilon square sin square phi is equal to epsilon square minus the value of epsilon cos phi is 1 minus a1 minus epsilon square upon r whole square. Okay. Now you put this value in numerator. So if you put the value of epsilon square sin square phi in numerator and put the value of 1 minus epsilon cos phi is equal to a1 minus epsilon square upon r in denominator, and if you simplify, your answer will be this. You will get the equation minus 1 upon a square 1 minus epsilon square into r square. This will be your first term, minus 1 upon a square 1 minus epsilon square into r square plus 2 upon a1 minus epsilon square into r minus 1. This is your second differential equation. This is your second differential equation from the polar equation of X. So this is your second differential equation of the elliptical orbit of electron about the nucleus. 1 upon r divided by d phi whole square is minus 1 upon a square 1 minus epsilon square into r square plus 2 a1 upon epsilon square into r minus 1. Okay, now in this two equation we will equate the coefficient of r square. So in equation 1 the coefficient of r square is 2me upon p phi square. In equation 2 the coefficient of r square is minus 1 upon a square 1 minus epsilon square. So here equating coefficient of r square, what we get? In the first differential equation, the coefficient of r square is 2me upon p phi square. 2me upon p phi square is equal to. In the second differential equation, the coefficient of r square is minus 1 upon a square 1 minus epsilon square. So let us compare the coefficient of r square in these two differential equation. So in first differential equation the coefficient of r square is 2me upon p phi square, and in the second differential equation the coefficient of r square is minus 1 upon a square 1 minus epsilon square. Okay, now you know the value of 1 minus epsilon square. The value of 1 minus epsilon square is nothing but b square upon a square. So that value I substitute here. Value of 1 minus epsilon square is b square upon a square. B square upon a square. Value of 1 minus epsilon square is b square upon a square. This a square is going to be cancelled. So answer will be minus 1 upon p square. Equation number 3. Value of 1 minus epsilon square is b square upon a square. A square is going to be cancelled. So value of 2me upon p phi square is minus 1 upon b square. Equation number 3. Now I compare the coefficient of r. Equating coefficient of r. In this two differential equation, if you compare the coefficient of r, okay, what is the coefficient of r in first differential equation? That is 2m z square upon p phi square. That is 2m z square upon p phi square. And in the second differential equation, the coefficient of r is 2a 1 minus epsilon square. So let us equate the coefficient of r in both the differential equation. In the upper differential equation, the first differential equation, the coefficient of r is 2n z square upon p phi square. And in the second differential equation, the coefficient of r is 2 upon a 1 minus epsilon square. Okay, the last one, first one minus 1 minus 1. Okay, you can cancel 2 from both the sides and put the value of 1 minus epsilon square. What is the value of 1 minus epsilon square? The value of 1 minus epsilon square is, let us put the value of 1 minus epsilon square is b square upon a square. So let us put the value of 1 minus epsilon square is b square upon a square. B square upon a square. 1a is cancelled. So you will get a upon b square. Equation number 4. Equation number 4. From this equation number 4, you can write down the equation of semi-major axis here. Semi-major axis here is equal to b square I take on this side. So m z square into b square upon p phi square. That is equation 5. So semi-major axis of the ellipse. Semi-major axis of this ellipse A is m z square into b square upon p phi square. So this equation gives the semi-major axis of the ellipse. Now in order to find the energy of the electron in the elliptical orbit, we make a small calculation. Equation 3. Okay. Now equation 3 upon equation 4 square. If you take the ratio of the square of equation 3 upon 4 square, sorry, if you take the ratio of equation 3 and the square of equation 4, you will get the energy of the electron moving in the elliptical orbit. So let us take the ratio of equation 3 upon 4 square. So what is the left hand side of equation 3? The left hand side of equation 3 is 2me upon p phi square. So left hand side of equation 3 is 2me upon p phi square. 2me upon p phi square divided by the square of equation 4. So what is the square of left hand side of equation 4? M square z square e raised to 4 upon p phi raised to 4. That is equal to. So left hand side of equation 1, sorry, left hand side of equation 3 is 2me upon p phi square, and that is divided by the square of equation 4. Square of equation 4 is m square z square e4 upon p phi 4. That is equal to. Now right hand side of equation 3 is minus 1 upon b square, divided by the square of the right hand side of equation 4. So what is the right hand side of equation 4? A upon b square. So its square will be a square upon b raised to 4. A square upon b raised to 4. If you simplify this, minus 1 upon b square, a square upon b4, you will get minus b square upon a square. Minus b square upon a square. Okay. Because b raised to 4 upon b square will be b square upon a square. Now if you simplify this equation, you will get the energy. E is equal to equation of energy. If you simplify this, you will get the equation of energy that comes minus m z square equals to 4 b square upon a square divided by 2 p phi square. Sorry, You will not be able to see at the corner. So I repeat that equation once again. If you take the ratio of equation 3 and the square of equation 4, then the ratio of left hand side of equation 3 is 2m upon p phi square divided by square of the left hand side of equation 4 will be m square therefore equal upon p phi 4. The right hand side of equation is minus 1 upon b square. Square of the right hand side of equation 4 is a upon b square. Whole square will be a square upon b4. You will get minus b square upon a square. So if you simplify this equation 3 upon 4 square, you will get the energy of electron moving in the elliptic orbit. The energy of electron moving in the elliptic orbit comes minus m z square e raised to 4 b square upon a square upon 2p phi square. Equation 6. So from equation 5 and 6, you will be able to calculate the semi-major axis of the elliptical orbit of the electron can be calculated from m z square b square upon p phi square, and energy of the system can be calculated from m z square equal b square square upon 2 p phi square. So equation 6 and 5 gives energy and side shape of elliptical orbit of electron in terms of angular momentum p phi of the electron. Till we are not knowing the angular momentum p phi of the electron, so both the properties are still unknown. See, semi-major axis of the elliptical orbit is m z square b square upon p phi square, and p phi is the angular moment of the electron that we don't know. Okay. Here, the energy of the system is minus m z square equal b square upon a square upon 2 p phi square. The p phi is again the angular momentum of the electron that we do not know the value of angular momentum p phi of the electron. So equation 6 gives the energy of electron in terms of angular momentum p phi of the electron, and equation 5 gives the size and shape, means the length of semi-major axis of the ellipse in terms of angular moment of the electron. Okay. So now, if you find the angular momentum p phi of the electron, you can calculate semi-major axis and energy of the electron. So in the first step, we have derived the differential equation for the elliptical orbit of electron. In the second step, we have derived the equation of energy of the electron moving in the elliptical orbit and also the length of semi-major axis of the ellipse, that is for the size and shape of the elliptical orbit. Now in the next step is very important. Next step 3, we will obtain the quantum condition for elliptical orbit of electron. This is very important. That what is the quantum condition? To obtain quantum condition for allowed elliptical orbits of electron around the nucleus. So now let us try to obtain the quantum condition for allowed elliptical orbit of the electron around the nucleus. Okay. So for that we will apply Wilson-Sommerfeld quantum rule to coordinate r and phi. We have two polar coordinate r and phi. This defines the position of electron at any instant of time. So we will apply Wilson-Sommerfeld quantum rule to r coordinate and phi coordinate. So let us apply Wilson-Sommerfeld quantization condition to R and phi coordinates. Because we have two coordinates R and phi. This defines the motion of electron, elliptical orbit of the electron at any instant of time. The motion of electron, the position, instantaneous position of electron is defined by two polar coordinate R, which gives the radial distance of electron from the nucleus, and angular coordinate phi. So R and phi defines the instantaneous position of the electron in elliptical orbit. So let us apply Wilson-Sommerfeld quantum rule, quantum condition to R coordinate and phi coordinate. What is Wilson-Sommerfeld quantum rule? You know very well. It is Pi dqi is equal to nh. According to Wilson-Sommerfeld quantum rule, you know very well that value of phase integral Pi dqi is always an integral multiple of line constant h. So we write this phase integral for R coordinate. So for R coordinate, how to write this phase integral? Corresponding to radial coordinate, what is the radial moment of the electron? Pr. So instead of Pi, I write Pr. My coordinate is R, so Pr is equal to nRh. So this is the phase integral for R coordinate, or you can say this is the Wilson-Sommerfeld quantum condition for R coordinate. So Wilson-Sommerfeld quantum condition or quantum rule for R coordinate is the reverse momentum of the electron corresponding to radial coordinate R is Pr. So instead of Pi, I have written Pr. D. This position coordinate is not x but it is R. So integral Pr dr is equal to nRh, where nr is for radial quantum number. nr is for radial quantum number. Now similarly you can write the Wilson-Sommerfeld quantum condition for phi coordinate. So for phi coordinate, the Wilson-Sommerfeld quantum rule can be written as P phi d phi is equal to n phi h. Because corresponding to angular coordinate phi, the angular moment of the electron is P phi. So let us replace this Pi by P phi. Corresponding to angular coordinate phi, the angular momentum of the electron moving in the elliptical orbit is P phi d. This position coordinate is phi, so P phi d phi must be equal to n phi h. This n phi is called azimuthal quantum number. N phi is called azimuthal quantum number, and it is denoted by k. Azimuthal quantum number is denoted by k. So instead of n phi, you can write k. So integral P phi d phi is equal to kh. Now if you solve, now the important thing, if you solve the phase integral for R coordinate, which is integral Pr dr is equal to nRh, and if you solve the phase integral for phi coordinate, integral P phi d phi is equal to kh, you will be able to know semi-major axis of the ellipse, semi-minor axis of the ellipse, and you can draw the elliptical orbit for the electron moving in different elliptical orbits. And you can also get the quantum condition for the allowed elliptical orbits of the electron. So let us solve the second integral first. Second integral, phase integral for phi coordinate is integration of P phi d phi is equal to kh. Let us solve this phase integral for phi coordinate. For phi coordinate, let us solve the Wilson-Sommerfeld quantization condition for phi coordinate. The phase integral P phi d phi is an integral multiple of line constant h. Right? This k is called azimuthal quantum number. P phi is the angular moment of the electron, which is a constant quantity. So P phi integral d phi is equal to kh. P phi integral d phi is equal to kh, because P phi is the constant magnitude of the angular momentum of the electron moving in the elliptical orbit. The angular momentum P phi of isolated system is constant. Integral d phi is equal to kh. In polar coordinate, you know the limit of r is from 0 to infinite. limit of theta is from 0 to 5 and limit of phi is from 0 to 2 pi. P phi integral d phi is 2 pi, sorry phi, integral d phi is pi, so P phi into 2 pi is equal to kh. So you get the angular momentum of the electron moving in the elliptical orbit is kh upon 2 pi. This is nothing but the Bohr's assumption. What was the Bohr's assumption? That Bohr's in the first postulate of Neil Bohr, in the first postulate that the electron could move only in those circular orbits in which the angular momentum of the electron is an integral momentum of h upon 2 pi. The same equation we are getting from the Wilson-Sommerfeld quantization condition. Applying Wilson-Sommerfeld quantization condition to phi coordinate, the phase integral P phi d phi is an integral moving plan percentage. They get the same result. P phi is constant, integral d phi is equal to kh. P phi integral d phi is phi. Limit of phi is from 0 to 2 pi. Kh. P phi into 2 pi is kh. So angular momentum of the electron is an integral multiplier of h upon 2 pi. That is kh upon 2 pi. So we get the angular momentum of electron P phi by solving the phase integral. Now we try, which is not so simple, we try to solve the phase integral for r coordinate. Phase integral for r coordinate. Now what is the phase integral for r coordinate? The phase integral for r coordinate is integral PR dr is equal to nRh. Okay, the phase integral for radial coordinate r, which gives the radial distance of electron from the nucleus. The phase integral for radial coordinate r, which gives the radial distance of electron from the nucleus, is integral PR dr is equal to nRh. So nR is called radial quantum number. Now see here, limit of phi we know that when electron is here, the distance of electron from the nucleus is maximum. We do not know the maximum value of r, angle phi will be 0. When electron comes here, after half rotation, the angle phi will be pi and distance of electron from the nucleus is minimum. When electron completes one rotation and come back to the initial position, again r becomes maximum and phi becomes 2 pi. So r is varying between minimum value and maximum value. But what is the minimum value, maximum value, that we don't know. Phi is changing from 0 to 2 pi. So if you convert this integral from r to phi, if you convert this integral from r coordinate to phi coordinate, you are knowing the limit of phi coordinate, that is limit from 0 to 2 pi. So you can easily solve this integral. So for that, I will put the value of PR and dr. Number 1. Now, what is PR? PR is the momentum of the electron. That is mass into velocity. Right? The radial momentum of the electron PR is defined by mass of the electron and into linear velocity of the electron, that is d. So, radial momentum of the electron is m and linear velocity is defined as dr by dt. dr by dt. Now this dr by dt can be written as dr by d phi into d phi by dt. Right? dr by dt can be written as dr by d phi into d phi by dt. Okay. Now you know the equation of angular momentum of the electron. The angular momentum p phi of the electron is I omega. Angular momentum p phi of the electron is I omega. Where I is the moment of inertia, that is m r square. And angular velocity of the electron is d phi by dt. So value of m d phi by dt is nothing but p phi upon r square. P phi upon r square. Right? You know the angular linear momentum of the electron is md, and angular momentum of the electron is p phi is I omega. Where I is the moment of inertia defined by m r square. Angular velocity of the electron is omega is defined by d phi by dt. So p phi upon r square is equal to m d phi by dt. So here you can put the value of m d phi by dt. This m and d phi by dt. What is the value of m into d phi by dt? The value of m into d phi by dt is p phi upon r square. So now we get Pr is equal to, let us put the value of m into d phi by dt. The value of m into d phi by dt is p phi upon r square. P phi upon r square into dr by d phi as it is. The another value is dr. This is the value of dr. You can put here. Okay. The second value we are going to put, that is dr. Dr can be written as dr by d phi into d phi. So if you substitute the value of Pr from equation 1 and value of Pr from equation 2 into phase integral, your integral will be converted from r coordinate to phi coordinate, because you know the limit of phi coordinate, that is 0 to 2 pi, so it is easy to solve. Okay, so now let's substitute the values. Integration of, okay, what is the value of Pr? Let us put the value of Pr from equation 1, that is p phi upon r square, p phi upon r square into Pr by d phi. So let us substitute the value of Pr from equation 1, that is p phi upon r square into dr by d phi. And value of dr, you can write as dr by d phi into d phi. So here I put the value of radial momentum Pr, which is p phi upon r square into dr by d phi, and dr can be written as dr by d phi into d phi. And this phase integral must be equal to an integral multiple of Planck constant h, where nr is the radial quantum. Okay. Now this p phi is the angular momentum. Integration of dr by d phi into dr by d phi into dr by d phi whole square. So here 1 upon r dr by d phi whole square, d phi is equal to nrh. So I have converted the integration with respect to dr into integration with respect to d phi. So r integral, you can say r integral, I have converted it to phi integral. I know the limit of phi is from 0 to 2 pi. Okay. Now substituting value of 1 upon r dr by d phi whole square from polar equation of ellipse. So p phi integration of, yes, let us put the value of 1 upon r dr by d phi whole square. You just recall, you just see the previous equation. Okay, in the step 1 we have obtained the differential equation from the total energy. In the second step we have obtained the differential equation of elliptical orbit from the polar equation of ellipse, and from that in the second step we have obtained one equation of 1 upon r dr by d phi whole square. If you remember, that equation was like this: epsilon square sin square phi, was numerator, and denominator was 1 minus epsilon cos phi whole square. D phi is equal to nRh. Right? So d phi is the constant angular momentum of the electron. Now show the integral 1 upon r dr by d phi whole square is equal to epsilon square sin square phi upon 1 minus epsilon cos phi whole square. D phi is the energy. Okay, so you just see the polar equation of ellipse. From the polar equation of ellipse we have differentiated that polar equation, which is to phi, and we got 1 upon r dr by d phi whole square is equal to epsilon square sin square phi upon 1 minus epsilon cos phi whole square. P5 is the angular momentum of the electron, which we have obtained by solving the phase integral for 5 coordinate. By solving the phase integral for 5 coordinate, we got the angular momentum P5 of the electron is k into h upon 2 pi. So let us put the angular momentum P5 of the electron is k into h upon 2 pi. K into h upon 2 pi. If you solve this integral mathematically in the limit 0 to 2 pi, your answer will be, I am directly giving the answer. See, we are not supposed to solve this integral. Okay, you can write down the direct answer of this integration. Mathematically, if you solve integral epsilon square sin square pi upon 1 minus epsilon cos phi whole square with respect to 5 from the limit 0 to 2 pi, your answer will be 2 pi into 1 upon 1 minus epsilon square raised to 1 by 2 minus 1 is equal to NRH. So you just remember the answer of integral epsilon square sin square pi upon 1 minus epsilon cos phi whole square in the limit 0 to 2 pi. Its answer of integral epsilon square sin square pi upon 1 minus epsilon cos phi whole square with respect to phi is, in the limit 0 to 2 pi is 2 pi, 1 upon 1 minus epsilon square is to 1 by 2 minus 1. So this is the answer of the integral. Okay. Now you can cancel out this 2 pi is cancelled out, x is cancelled from both the sides. Therefore we will get k into bracket 1 upon 1 minus epsilon square is to 1 by 2 minus 1 is equal to n. K into 1 upon 1 minus epsilon square is to 1 by 2 minus 1 is equal to n. So 2 pi is cancelled and Planck percentage is cancelled from both the sides. So if you take this k inside the bracket, you will be having k upon 1 minus epsilon square raised to 1 by 2 minus k into 1 will be k is equal to n. So k into 1 upon 1 minus epsilon square raised to 1 by 2 minus k into 1 will be k is equal to n. So k upon 1 minus epsilon square raised to 1 by 2 is equal to nr plus k. What is nr? I have written nr is the radial quantum number. What is k? K is the azimuthal quantum number. And sum of radial quantum number nr plus azimuthal quantum number k gives the principal or total quantum number. nr is the radial quantum number plus k is the azimuthal quantum number. The sum of radial quantum number nr and azimuthal quantum number k gives the total quantum number n. So now we will get k upon 1 minus epsilon square raised to 1 by 2 is equal to n. So we have now three quantum numbers. nr is called the radial quantum number, k is called the azimuthal quantum number, and the sum of radial quantum number nr and azimuthal quantum number k gives the total quantum number n. So we get k upon n k upon 1 minus epsilon square raised to 1 by 2 is equal to n. Okay. This equation can be written as k upon n is equal to 1 minus epsilon square raised to 1 by 2. Know the relation between semi-major axis A, semi-minor axis B and eccentricity. That 1 minus epsilon square is b square upon a square. Here we have 1 minus epsilon square is to 1 by 2. So 1 minus epsilon square is to 1 by 2 is equal to b upon a. Right? You know this relation for ellipse, that 1 minus epsilon square is defined as b square upon a square, where epsilon is the eccentricity of the ellipse, b is the semi-major axis, and a is the semi-minor axis. So this is the relation between eccentricity epsilon, semi-major axis b, and semi-minor axis, major axis a. So 1 minus epsilon square raised to 1 by 2 is nothing but b upon a. So I write here k upon n is equal to 1 minus epsilon square raised to 1 by 2 is equal to b upon a. Please remember b is semi minor axis and a is called semi major axis. So this relation is called, this is the quantum condition for the elliptical orbit of the electron around the nucleus. K upon n is equal to b upon a is called, this is the quantum condition. This is the quantum condition for allowed elliptical orbit of electron. So what this condition says, k is a number because it is a azimuthal quantum number, n is also integer number. So k upon n is also integer. So b upon n should also be an integer because k is a azimuthal quantum number having values 1, 2, 3 and so on. N is a total quantum number having values 1, 2, 3 so on. So ratio of k upon n is integer. So ratio of b upon n must be integer. Okay. So what this condition says, that according to the quantum condition for the allowed elliptical orbits of electron, which is k upon n is equal to b upon n, says that electron is not allowed to move in any elliptical orbit. Just like Bohr said that electron is not allowed to move in any circular orbit. Electron can move only in those circular orbit in which its angular momentum is an integral multiple of h upon 2. Electron can move only in those circular orbits in which its angular momentum is an integral multiple of h upon 2. Similarly here, the electron is not allowed to move in any elliptical orbit. Electron could move in only in those elliptical orbits in which the ratio of k upon n, ratio of azimuthal quantum number k and total quantum number n must be equal to the ratio of semi minor axis b upon semi major axis. So electron could go only in those elliptical orbit in which the condition k upon n, b upon a is satisfied. The elliptical orbit which does not satisfy the condition k upon n is equal to b upon a, that elliptical orbit is not allowed. Electron cannot move in that elliptical orbit. Electron can move only in those elliptical orbit in which k upon n is equal to b upon a condition is satisfied. This is a well-known condition known as quantum condition for the elliptical orbit of the electron. Thank you so much. We will draw the elliptical orbit for n is equal to 1, n is equal to 2, n is equal to 3 in the next lecture by using this quantum condition.